Hello, Star Wars fans. Today we're going to look at Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 7, and what an episode it was. I had heard they were kind of saving the best for last with the final two episodes, and man, if the finale is anything like this episode, we are in for a treat. They have definitely saved the best for last. But one of the biggest mysteries from the episode was the title itself, The Spies, plural. Obviously, Elia Kane is one of those spies, but who is the other spy, or even other spies? Well, we're going to get to that. First, I want to touch on some other things that I found really cool about the episode, but we will conclude in trying to figure out exactly who is the spy they're referring to, the other spy. So let's dive right in and see what we can find out. So first of all, Moff Gideon has received quite the power-up. Oh my goodness, his armor was sweet, and he got a jetpack. He is not playing around. Love it. Absolutely love it. But he didn't just get his armor. He's got troopers with Beskar armor, a whole legion of them. Wow. He is absolutely not playing around. And he has quite the cool secret lair. That's one of the biggest things for a bad guy is not just your forces and your troops and your own armor. It's how cool is your secret lair. And his secret lair is very, very cool. Very cool. Also, we found out he is still working on the cloning. And in fact, they're looking more and more humanoid, so he seems to be getting pretty far along in whatever he's doing. Very interesting. And then he also ended up with some elite Praetorian guards who really kicked some butt there at the end of the episode. And of course, we've also seen these guards, slightly different versions of them, but in The Last Jedi, in the sequel trilogy. And they're likely patterned after the original Imperial guards from the original trilogy. And we never really saw these guys do much, but man, they were menacing. You just kind of knew that if they took you on in a fight, you were toast. You were just absolutely toast. Man, very cool. Very, very cool. Also, we see that Moff Gideon has quite the fleet hidden away. And hidden away on Mandalore. Wow, did not see that coming. Even in the episode at the beginning, they're kind of keeping it sneaky, so you don't know where he's at. Where is this secret lair of his? Oh, we find out it's on under Mandalore, if you will. Wow. Very cool. Very, very cool reveal. Also, we find out he is part of the Shadow Council. Very nice, doing their Zoom call meetings. And what I thought was really cool was learning how they were operating. They were basically saying, hey, we need to continue to look like unorganized remnant warlords. Because if we're perceived as anything else, the New Republic's going to come after us. But if we stay like this, they'll never know. Very, very sneaky. And I thought the most ominous thing said was there are citizens loyal to the Empire on every planet in the galaxy. Wow. Talk about scary. You wonder, how did the Empire come back? Well, the Empire seemingly never died. That's how it came back as the First Order. But also, this is very real world because this shows how hard it is to stamp out evil. Think about the fact there are still people that consider Nazism to be good. Still people that talk about being a Nazi, sometimes quietly, secretly, sometimes not so secretly. There's websites devoted to it. How are we still talking about Nazis, 70, 80 years later? How is this possible? Well, that's why Star Wars is so amazing. They're showing us, man, this stuff is hard to root out, and it's scary, and you wish you could take care of it once and for all, but nope, it's just very real world. Love Star Wars for that. Love it. Then we meet some of the members of this Shadow Council. So who exactly is Captain Pellaeon? Well, we've seen him, or read about him at least, in the Legends and some of the Heir to the Empire novels. And sure enough, doesn't he look amazing in his going from the page to real life? My goodness. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Then also we did get a little tease for him in the final episode of Rebels. It was just an audio only tease of him. But so basically Thrawn is saying, get Captain Pellaeon. And then we hear his audio where he says, sir, they came out of hyperspace. I've never seen, and he's cut off. So not much of an appearance, but it was Filoni's way of saying, hey, this guy's canon. He's canon, and we're going to see him again. And sure enough, we do. And that's why he is so interested in Thrawn's return. He's so certain he's coming back. He's very closely allied with him, obviously, worked directly for him. And it's kind of interesting. This is one of those moments where you realize, they're pretty much assuming that we've watched Rebels, which I did, and I recommend anybody who hasn't should. But it's kind of the same. I don't want to say issue, that's too strong of a word, but it's the same situation that Marvel's in that when you have a connected universe, of course everything builds upon each other. But you do reach a point, you wonder, when it gets harder and harder for people, I don't know, to feel like, man, I got to do a ton of homework to watch all this other stuff. I can't just sit down and watch Mandalorian. I don't know if there is an answer, but I think the best way for them to handle these things is like they are handling it. They're not saying, hey, you got to go watch 4 seasons of Rebels. We'll bring you up to speed. Now, if you want to go watch 4 seasons of Rebels, which you should, it's awesome, then go ahead. But if you don't want to, we'll try our best to slowly bring you into speed of everything you need to know. So that's really the secret to handling a connected universe. But man, we're definitely seeing that it will help to have watched a lot of this previous stuff. All right, so we also learned, though, Thrawn ain't back yet. I had been kind of wondering if Thrawn might make a guest appearance and be part of this big final episode of Mandalorian. I'm very convinced he won't now. I think he's probably not even returned yet from the end of Rebels, and that's what probably all of the Ahsoka series is going to be dealing with, rescuing Ezra and then Thrawn returning. So we may see him like in a little tease as an end credit scene, but no, I don't think he's going to show up in the final episode. And we notice it's Moff Gideon who's trying to assert his dominance and get himself into a leadership position. Very interesting. We also meet Commandant Hux, and we get reminded of Project Necromancer, which is his project to, bring back Palpatine. Necromancy is bringing back the dead, and in this case, they're creating the clones, a Force-sensitive clone, so he can bring back Palpatine's essence. And of course, you certainly recognize the name Hux if you saw the sequel trilogy, because that is his son. His son was in the sequel trilogy. This is his dad on the left and son on the right. But also, kind of cool, the actors are brothers. So not only in universe are they family, but in the real world they're family. I love that. Very, very cool. And actually, he's a little upset that they don't have Dr. Pershing and they don't have the research. So now we kind of learn a little more about what Gideon's been up to, because Gideon explains, he was captured by the Republic and his research is lost. Well, no, it's not. Gideon has it, and Gideon's doing his own experiments. So we know that Hux wants to bring back Palpatine. What does Gideon want to do? What's Gideon's plan? I don't know that we really know, but it's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans out. And again, if it ties in at all to Bad Batch and the cloning experiments there. I very much think that it will. Okay, so slowly, we're getting closer and closer to explaining the somehow. I love it. It's a lot of effort to get there, but by the end, I think we're going to be like, okay, this actually makes sense. I can't wait to watch, in fact, the sequel trilogy again after this Filoni movie down the road, just to see how it all ties together. I think it'll really be cool. We'll see. So yeah, speaking of the Filoni movie, that's what we're building to. Long live the Empire. It's never gone. It never went away. And we'll eventually get, obviously, to the First Order. But for now, the Empire is still around and ready to kick some butt. So very, very cool. All right. I also enjoyed seeing this meeting of the Mandalorian factions. I mean, just look how wild that is. On the left, they got their helmets on. On the right, they don't. And neither of the two of them seem very pleased with the other ones. It's just very cool. But it's been building to this really all season, maybe even for the last couple seasons of, guys, we got to work together. We got to stop letting these petty differences keep us from working together and unifying and becoming everything Mandalore can be. Once again, very practical applications for real life. How often do we let ridiculous differences stand between us, really achieving something great? Then we get Grogu in now IG-12, and that was quite a surprise. I did not see this coming. I loved it. It was great seeing him use the little joysticks and walk IG-12 around. Having him use the yes/no buttons was epic. I mean, there is an element of it being a little creepy because he is inside the IG-11 droid that helped save their lives in the first season, and now he's being used as a robot. But it's cool. I love it. I enjoy the evolution for little Grogu in his little baby Bjorn, and we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this all ends up. Also, one of the big time reveals was between what happened between Bo and Moff Gideon, to learn that she surrendered. And boy, you could just hear a pin drop when she laid that out. I felt so sorry for her. It was one of the first times we really saw Bo be like tender, be nervous, be not her sure self. She was very vulnerable when she told this to everybody. Wow. And yeah, they just, I don't know. I think some people were okay and understood. I don't think everybody did. I don't think everybody was happy. And I do wonder if maybe sitting at this table is our spy. So let's talk about that. Who might our spy be? So on the far right, you can barely see her there, but the armorer. Could the armorer be the spy? One of the things that I've been talking about, I know several other YouTubers are talking about, is the horns on her helmet. And now we see the similar, not exactly the same, but similar horns on Moff Gideon's helmet. Is this to try to indicate there's something going on with an allegiance between them, to Darth Maul perhaps, or something else? Or is this just random? Is this a red herring to try to make us suspect the armor? And it was pretty sus that she took off from the battle to take all the injured folks off planet. But again, the more guilty they make someone look, the less likely it's them. So my guess is it's not the armor. And one of the biggest reasons is they'll have to explain this. Because, remember, at the beginning of the episode, and I think these lines were there for a reason, we have Elia Kane saying Bo-Katan Kryze led a squadron of Mandalorians alongside Din Djarin and his covert. And Moff says this cannot be. Those two factions are sworn enemies. Now, if the armor is his spy and working for him, the armor was trying to get them together. Literally, the armor was trying to unify everybody. So how can he now be surprised by that? That wouldn't make any sense whatsoever for one of his main spies to be not telling him, by the way, I'm the one bringing them together. So it just doesn't make any sense. They're really going to have to explain this relationship here, where Moff is completely unaware that the two forces are together, the two factions are together. So I don't think it's the armorer. I think that's way too obvious. And honestly, with everything they've done to build up her character, I just feel it would be a waste to then suddenly have her be evil and working with Moff. Just my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right. Another possibility. Could Axe be our spy? I mean, one of the biggest things he's got going against him is he's kind of a jerk. And he didn't want to work with Bo. Certainly didn't want to work with the covert. But he did. They could have tried to say, hey, your little dark saber thing, that doesn't work. That whole rule they came up with in the previous episode of, Din lost it to the robot, and then Bo beat the robot, so that means Bo. No, they could have said, nah, not accepting it. So again, I don't think it would make any sense for him to be the spy, because why would then Moff Gideon not have known? Why would he not have known they're working together? So I would put him as a bigger chance than the armorer, but I don't think he's the spy. I really don't. I think our spy is one of these guys. I really think it's one of the quote-unquote pirates. Now, granted, they said some of the right things. One of them said, we knew you would not forsake us, Lady Bo-Katan. Okay, that was good. And so maybe the guy, I think it was the guy on the far right there that said that, maybe he's not the spy then. Okay, but one of these guys I think is. Because how did they build this ship? Come on. I mean, seriously. That thing is pretty darn impressive. Where did they get the materials to build this? What is going on? And notice, they're saying, do you have any food? I mean, where did they find food? Where did they find food on the planet? No, I think this is a setup. I think Moff Gideon had this ready and sent them out to look like they're all innocent. And notice, remember, the armorer took a bunch of them off planet. I don't think the armorer was the spy. I think she just did that to be helpful. I think that was to get a bunch of them out of there and leave a few of the warriors behind. Also, they knew right where to take them. They knew right where to go. Now, granted, you could argue they knew that because they've explored the planet. I get that. But still, they led them right into a trap. Awfully convenient. And by the way, how did they not know Gideon was building his base under Mandalore? You're telling me these pirates were living on top of Mandalore in their little goofy Mad Max boat. That's not good. It was cool. I'm sorry, I'm being mean. It was cool, but it was totally a Mad Max boat. But anyway, they're just trolling around the planet looking for food, and they have no idea that Moff Gideon is basically putting an Imperial fleet underneath. No, not buying it. And I don't know why anybody didn't ask them that. Well, I guess they didn't get a chance at the end. But boy, they better ask them that in the next episode of how did you not know this was under there? So yeah, I really think it was one of those pirates. And it could have been multiple spies, but I think it was one of those pirates. And in fact, okay, I'll throw out one more. This is crazy, but maybe. I say this is crazy because normally they don't make it somebody who had a minor appearance. But there was this dude who was like, remember, he's like, I can make it. I can go get more reinforcements. And he goes up through the roof of the hole in the ceiling and barely escapes. We don't know where he went. Okay, that's a little sus, I guess. So maybe it could be that guy. I'm just going to throw it out, but I don't think so. I think it was the pirates. So those are my guesses. Tell me what you think. Who do you think it was the spy? I mean, one person we know wasn't the spy is poor Paz Vizsla. Now, I would have put him high on the list before, but man, that was a tough death. That was a tough death. I mean, for him to literally like overload his Gatling gun because he fired it so many times. And then for him to just go out like a boss, man, just to go out like a boss. I tell you, man, Star Wars had even more than Marvel, I think, even more than anything else I enjoy. They have the way to make you hate a character, like hate a character. And then he grows on you and then they kill you. And then they kill him. And you actually feel bad. I was like, no, they can't kill him. Versus probably last season, I'd been like, I'm fine if he gets stepped on by some giant creature. Really? The guy's a jerk. So, man, good job, Star Wars. Good job, Filoni and Favreau. You made me like the guy, and then you killed him. And ironically, since he's voiced by Favreau, that's kind of funny too. But yeah, what a noble death. So well done. So sad. So yeah, let me know what you think about this episode. Who do you think the spy is? What did you think about Paz Vizsla's death? How about that IG-12 robot or droid shell for little Grogu? I'd love to know in the comments what you think. And then also, I continue to update the timeline. And I've cleaned up the top a little bit. And in fact, I've put what I think are the ranges of the years. Let me know what you think. Tell me if I got this right. I pulled some of this from Wikipedia, but even that hasn't been updated fully with all the new information. But yeah, let me know what you think. Particularly the rise of the First Order. I've only got 34 to 35 ABY. Is that really the only point of that period? Or is some of that going to be some of the years inside the New Republic? Because that goes from 5 ABY to 34 ABY. So let me know what you think. I'll keep updating this. Very, very cool. Also, don't forget, we have a Discord with lots of Star Wars chatter. Love to have you come join the conversation. I'll leave a pinned comment with a link to the Discord. And also, if you don't mind, you can like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content. We can all continue to enjoy the season finale of Mandalorian.